Good evening, everyone. Happy Monday, and welcome to our April 2025 book club discussion of The Story She Left Behind with one of our favorite people, Patti Callahan Henry. We are so excited to discuss this book, and I loved seeing everyone's pictures for the reel we did with everyone out in the world reading the book, posing with Patty. It was so much fun. So I know you guys are just excited as we are. So let's get into it. I'm Lisa Harrison. I'm here with my co host, Brenda,
Hello.
and we are ready. So, Brenda, would you like to introduce the woman of the hour?
I would be delighted to. I tell you, I'm just super excited about this discussion tonight. But at any rate, I want to introduce Patti Callahan Henry tonight. She's the co-host and co-creator of Friends in Fiction Live web show and podcast, which some of us may have heard of. She's a New York Times, Globe and Mail, and USA Today bestselling author of 17 novels, including her newest, The Story She Left Behind. She's also podcast host of original content for her novels, Surviving Savannah and Becoming Mrs. Lewis, which are fabulous if you haven't read them. Her books have been translated into over 20 languages and have been the Barnes and Noble Book Club pick, Amazon Editor pick, Goodreads Book of the Year finalist, People Magazine choice, Book of the Month selection, and more. She's the recipient of the Christie Award Book of the Year, the Harper Lee Distinguished Writer of the Year, and the Alabama Library Association Book of the Year for Becoming Mrs. Lewis. Patti attended Auburn for her undergraduate work and Georgia State University for her graduate degree. Once a pediatric clinical nurse specialist, she now writes full time. She's married to Pat Henry, the mother of three and grandmother of two. Patti, welcome. So excited to talk about this book tonight.
Hey. Hi. It's so funny you said attended Auburn. I'm in Auburn right now. I'm in the I'm doing a whole bunch of events here this week, including talking to the creative writing class. And I didn't go to, I mean, I was a nursing student. I wasn't a creative writing student. So I'm staying in this really cool cottage, historic cottage that the English department and arts are putting me up in. And Margaret Wrinkle stayed in here, and Bethany
Wow,
Kennelly stayed because she's an Auburn alum too. So all their books are all everywhere. I feel very honored. So I'm not
that's
home.
very
I'm
cool.
in a little thing at Auburn, but I'm so happy to be with you guys. We get to talk about it finally.
I know at
Yay!
long last, and I appreciate it. I know your schedule is crazy busy and you just arrived there and you're headed somewhere else. So we'll have to be right on time tonight and a little bit early. But we do appreciate your stopping by to talk with us, and I cannot wait because we can do spoilers. So let's just get right into
I
it.
wouldn't miss it. Come
First,
on. And
um,
I just have to leave like 5 minutes early. I'm
okay,
we're
we'll
gonna
get you
talk.
out.
Yeah, no, we're good.
No
So, book
worries.
club members, as we begin, please be sure to put any additional questions in the chat. We'll be monitoring that tonight. And as always, we are spoiler free until 7:15, but that leaves us lots of time to dig into this just absolutely magical story. But Patti, could you give us a summary for those who are tuning in just for the spoiler free time?
Absolutely. So the story she left behind, come with me. It is 1927, and the book opens in Bluffton, South Carolina, where a woman named Bronwyn Newcastle Fordham releases a boat from the dock and disappears into the night. Now, Bronwyn was a child prodigy genius author. She was a woman who wrote her first children's fantasy novel when she was 12 years old. She also created her own language all before she disappeared. And when she left that night, she leaves behind a brokenhearted husband and an 8-year-old daughter named Clara and a sequel to her world famous novel. But the catch is the sequel is written in her secret language that she made up and she took it with her. Now, I know you're judging her. What kind of mother and wife does this? But that's what the whole book is about. So just hold tight. So then we immediately jump to 1952, where we meet Clara Harrington, and Clara receives a phone call from a man named Charlie Jameson. He has been cleaning out his deceased father's very extensive library, where he finds a leather satchel he has never seen before. And inside this leather satchel is a language he has never seen before. And in there is also a letter that says this must not be mailed or sent. It must be retrieved, and only by Clara Harrington of Bluffton, South Carolina. At first, Clara doesn't believe him because everyone has been after her mother's work her whole life, and she's tired of it. But then he says one word from the dictionary, Wandalia, and she knows that it is her mother's language. And she and her own 8-year-old daughter, Winnie, take off on a journey across the ocean, and things get very complicated as they try to discover what happened to her mother and the story she left behind.
That is the best summary. You are the best, like,
No.
summary storyteller, your words.
Oh,
I
I've
could
done it a
listen
few
to you
times this
talk
month.
about it all the
Uh,
time. I
Those
could
create
listen to you all the time.
I know
uh,
those creative writing students are in for a treat there.
you know what, you guys? I don't get nervous talking to readers. I get nervous talking to creative writing students.
Really
Yes, I
interesting.
think because I'm not a professor, right? And my master's degree is in the sciences, not in writing. And so I feel like they're looking at me like, what are you? And same with the professor, like, thanks for coming in my class and telling them how to do it. Like, so we're going to do some fun games tomorrow. It's a dialogue class, which I think is really interesting.
That's cool.
Ooh, that
I think
is. I wish I could sit in. That would be
I
so awesome.
know.
Yeah.
As a
Um,
student, they probably would, I mean, they appreciate the different perspective, I would think, of successful published authors like you. So you're gonna knock it out of the park.
we're
Well,
such
and
awesome
also I hope they're
storytellers.
just really chatty. I just like Q&A. I mean, I have an exercise I'm going to do with them, but I really prefer to just like, what do you want to know? You know.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I'll check back in with you and tell you how it goes.
Yeah,
Oh,
please
please
do.
do. I'm very curious. Well, speaking of
So,
Q&A,
no, you go ahead, Brenda.
oh, I'm sorry. Well, you mentioned the story that inspired the story she left behind in the cold case missing person, Barbara Newhall Follett. So, just to kick things off, could you tell us a little bit about your research and what drew you to her case specifically, and then what made you fictionalize her character?
Absolutely. So, I mean, as you know, one of my favorite subjects is where do stories come from, right? Where do they even begin? How do we get our very first germ of an idea? And this book was inspired by a woman, as you said, named Barbara Newhall Follett. Barbara Newhall Follett is a cold case literary mystery, like you mentioned. She is an author vanishing. She is a child prodigy who disappeared in 1939. Real quick about her, she was born in 1914. I mentioned she was a child prodigy. She could write and type by the time she was 3 and 4 years old. She wrote her first children's fantasy novel when she was 8 years old. And the only reason it wasn't published is because the house caught fire and the manuscript burned. So she rewrote it and it was published when she was, I'm going to pull it out. I have it here. It was published when she was 12 years old. It's called The House Without Windows. And it's been reissued with some amazing illustrations, but she published that novel with Knopf, one of the most famous publishing houses in New York, when she was 12 years old. The New York Times called her a literary genius. The book was called An Act of Brilliance, and she had this huge literary career ahead of her. And then her life fell apart. Her father left the family. Things got really wonky. The Great Depression hit. The father left them destitute. She couldn't write another book that sold as well. And through all my research, I also learned that she made up her own language. And When she was 25 years old, she decided to get married and settle down, and that didn't go well either. And her husband admitted he was in love with someone else, had an
Mm.
affair, they got in a fight. And one December night in 1939, she stormed out of her apartment in outside Boston, Massachusetts, and was never seen again. And it's still unsolved. It's still a cold case literary mystery. And all of her writings, all of her work, and her entire linguistic system and language she created sit in 16 dusty boxes at Columbia University in the library archives. And Brenda, like the research for that was so intense because at first I thought I was going to write the story from her point of view. So I read
Mhm.
all her letters, all her work, all her short stories. I gathered her language, put it in alphabetical order. And in the end, if we want to talk about it in the chat, we can. But in the end, I decided to fictionalize her. So you'll notice that Bronwyn has the same initials, Bronwyn Newcastle
Mhm.
Fordham, and has the exact same history, but their lives diverge at 20 years old. And I give Bronwyn a happy marriage and a daughter before things go awry.
Before I ask the next question, I wanted to share a couple of comments from the chat.
Oh, I want to
Um,
hear comments from, oh, turn my phone off. I tell guests to turn
everyone,
their phone off all the time, and I didn't turn mine off. Okay, go ahead.
Leah says, "What an incredible summary."
Oh, thank you, Leah.
Diane said, "I love the way Patty explains what her book is really about."
There you go.
Mary says, "Your books are magical. We adore you and them."
Oh,
Jennifer
this is
says,
making my night.
Jennifer says the book is beautifully written. And Michelle says, "Oh my God, I'd love to be in any class by Patty Callahan Henry."
Oh,
Oh,
me
well, I'm
too.
teaching in Kauai this November. Come on down to Kauai.
Wow. That sounds like fun.
Sounds
Amazing.
like something the book club should make a trip for.
I would love that. Okay, so I have an audiobook question because
Um,
I listened to the audiobook and Julia Whalen and Theo Solomon were the narrators, and it was fantastic.
yep.
And I feel like you have had the best luck or the best decision making with your audiobook narrators, specifically with Julia and also with the incredible Cynthia Erivo, who is having her moment right now with Wicked, who did Secret Book of Flora Lee and Wild Swan. So, can you tell us as an author what the process is for you to select the audiobook narrator? And what is it like working with two powerhouse women like Julia Whalen and Cynthia Erivo?
So I get some say in the audio narrator, but
Mm,
honestly, you can't go to your publishing house and say, I want only this, right? It depends
mhm,
on the audio narrator's schedule, on their cost and price. I mean, Julia Whalen's probably one of the most sought after audio
mhm.
narrators in the country.
Yeah.
So I asked really early and I pulled some strings and asked her personally because I know her. So
Ah,
I did have some input. And then for the male narrator, they sent me 4 or 5 and asked me to rank them. And that doesn't mean you get your first choice. It just means they see which ones. But Theo was my first choice. So that was really great. And then Cynthia was such an incredible get. And what happened was, I wrote Wild Swan during COVID. So all those Broadway stars were stuck at home and
oh, yeah.
they were narrating books. And so I didn't, I mean, to be honest, I'd heard her name, but I didn't really know who she was. And
Mhm.
when Audible wrote to me, it was an Audible original, Wild Swan. For those of you who haven't read it, it's because you can't read it. You can only listen to it. It is a novella about Florence Nightingale and it was an Audible original. And they wrote to me and said, "We have the hugest get." And I was like, "Okay." And I ended up meeting her after that. And so when it came time for Flora Lee, I said, "Do you think you could get her?" And she said yes. But I have to
Yeah.
tell you, that was a scary, she was filming Wicked while she was narrating my book. And
Oh,
she did
wow.
not finish until like midnight the night before the book was booked. We had to make a
Woo.
really tough, I had to make it, they left it up to me. They said, we don't know if she'll be done in time. And I said, I don't care. If the audiobook comes out late, it is what it is. I'm not giving her up. So,
Yeah. Wow.
and then I
Wow,
That
that is
love
is,
amazing.
the woman who read Once Upon a Wardrobe. Her name is Fiona Hardingham, and
oh, yeah.
she's narrating a book I'm listening to right now. Isola. I don't know how you say it. The one about the woman stranded on the Rock Island. You've seen it everywhere. Isola. And I was like,
Uh,
how do I know this woman's voice? How do I? And then I was like, oh, she narrated my book. Like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I was like, what else have I listened to by her? Anyway, yeah, I know, isn't
that's
that
so
funny?
funny.
That's so cool.
But
That
yeah,
is
Julia
hilarious.
Whalen is she is something. She can do any accent. We did an event together, Julia and I did an event together in Pasadena, California last week. I don't know what day is it? I don't know. 2 weeks ago, before Easter, we did an event in California together. And because she's read Kristen Hanna books and Kristen's my pal, she came and it was just a big, and my editor was there. So
Oh, I saw those pictures. Yeah.
it was just a big love fest because Julie is just the best.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it's after 7:15, so spoiler time is here. So anyone who hasn't finished the book, please turn the volume down now and join us back later. This may or may not be a spoiler, Patti, depending on your answer, but we had an advanced question from Susan who wants to know, as an author of historical fiction novels, what is your favorite part of the process, research, writing, or editing? And how did you come up with the names of your characters? They all have such unique first and last names. I'll stop there because I kind of asked you a two-parter.
Um, so the names, let me just address that real quick. I spend a lot of time on my names. And often, especially the main characters, once I get to know them, their name changes. So you can't do that with your children, but you can do it with your characters. Charlie was always Charlie, and Winnie was always Winnie because she was named after Bronwyn. So it was
Yeah.
the nickname for Bronwyn. Um, I forget what Clara was first, but I'm going to tell you a funny insider secret about
Okay. I'm
Pippa.
leaning in.
Okay, this is hilarious, or I hope you think it is. I almost died. So Pippa, Charlie's mom, Pippa
Mhm.
Jameson, had a different name at first. And my editor read the book and she loved it. And she called me and she was like, I think we have to change the name of Charlie's mother. And I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of like it. And she said, do you know who that is? And I said, no. Her name was Jenna Jameson. Literally never heard of her. Well, for those of you who don't know, don't Google it, but she is a
Don't Google
porn
it.
star. And I had,
Yeah.
so when I went for my meeting, my first meeting in New York, and we are sitting around the big table talking about the book, they brought that up, and I was as red as, how was I supposed to know? I don't,
Well,
You wouldn't know.
they were like,
I
she
can
wrote
tell
a
you,
book. I'm like, I
no,
didn't read
that's where
it.
I saw her book. I can't remember what it was called.
I don't know.
I don't remember, but it was something about it. It had a really cool cover, and it was in like the celeb bio thing at the
Yeah,
library once. And I saw it. I was like, "Who is this?" And they were like, "She's a porn star." I'm like, "Okay," but I think she's kind of legit now. I guess I don't really know, but that's hilarious.
I know. So anyway,
That's
name
why
That's a
you
great
have
change.
to.
story.
That's why you have to have a team of people with different backgrounds and different knowledges. That's why
All reading
diversity
it.
comes in, because if you make a mistake like that.
Okay, what was the first part of the question, Brenda?
Oh, it was what is your favorite part of the process as a historical
Oh,
fiction writer?
research, writing, editing. I'm gonna be honest and say a third, a third, a third. I mean, I don't. I don't like one without the other. If I had to do only research, I'd be bored out of my mind. If I didn't get to do research, I'd be bored out of my mind. The writing and then the editing is fun because I finally get to make the book what I want it to be. So they each have it's like seasons in the year. Like I love fall for this reason and spring for this reason. And
Right.
so I kind of feel that way about it, to be honest.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Very cool.
that wasn't a spoiler.
No,
Well, depending on where you went with the
Yeah,
names, we
true.
weren't
the
sure.
answer could have, yeah.
Because there's a couple
Um,
characters I want to talk about later that,
Okay.
and Susan also wanted to add on, she said, "Thank you for sharing this wonderful story with us. I
oh,
read it twice and I never wanted it to end. And thank you for including the information about the Great Smog of 1952. She saw it on an episode of The Crown and was
Where most
fascinated."
people see it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so my question is, so Claire Harrington is such a brave but broken woman. Um, she's driven by fear, guilt, hope, love, and various orders at various times. How did you create such a complex character, and did you find it difficult to leave her when you were finished writing the story?
I'll start by creating her. So I always say that I am my character's psychoanalyst. So I am a pretend psychoanalyst. It's one of my favorite things about writing is creating these characters with conflicting motivations, knowing things about them that they don't know. For example, when the book opens, Clara is being interviewed because she's just won a Caldecott Award. My character, Clara, is a children's book illustrator. And the journalist asks her, "Do you illustrate children's books because your mother wrote them?" And she says, "Absolutely not. I illustrate because it's what I've done my whole life. I've been scribbling in notebook, right? This is my passion." But she's wrong because literally everything she does is about her missing mother. As she says in the novel, her mother was as overwhelming in her presence as she is in her absence. And so I know that about her. And then I can give her, Lisa, these kind of conflicting behaviors because she doesn't understand what's driving her. I read a book about mothers who abandoned kids. I read some interviews, but there was a really interesting book I read by a woman named Kelly McDaniel called Mother Hunger.
Mm.
And what that creates in someone, especially if the missing is unknown, right? Not just an abandonment that she knows where they went, but one that's unknown. So I spend a lot of time, and then I don't want to tell you that. I don't want to say everything Clara does is about her mother, but I'm going to show you that it is because we're talking spoilers. So, she ends up putting Winnie in danger because she's not thinking straight, right? She's so desperate to find this secret language and find out she forgot to bring her asthma pen. I mean, her asthma meds and her EpiPen, and she forgot to be careful about those things. She didn't check about the weather. And so here she is believing she's a better mother than her own mother, but maybe she's not. And so I want those conflicting, the guilt and then the missing and then the aching to all be part of it. And you had a second part to that. What was the second part of that question?
Um, how do you find it difficult to leave her when you're done writing?
I always find it difficult to leave my characters. Usually the first month of writing a new book, they all sound like Clara sounded like Hazel for a couple months, right? Like
ah,
they each kind of,
mhm.
I have a book hangover with my own characters, not because I think they're so great, but just because I've spent immeasurable amounts of time with
They're
them.
in your brain.
Yeah. And, listen, I'm trying to write a new book and I'm on the road only talking about Clara and Winnie and Charlie and Pippa and Bronwyn. And like then I'm supposed to go dive all the way deep with these other characters. So it is hard, and I often have to totally rewrite the first 100 pages or so of a novel because it takes me that long to see what they really sound like, because
Live
for a
on.
little while they sound like the other characters.
Yeah, that makes total sense though. I'm really curious about Clara because I'm curious what other book club members say. But for me, that defining moment of Clara being absolutely all about her mother being lost was when she went into and it's spoiler time, so when she went just into the raging river after those pages and the description of that, it was just like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
she's
And it was freezing, and she was trying to grab all these pages and put them next
oh,
to her body. And because she was out of her mind, because there's a moment for all of
Yeah.
us, even in real life, when the things we don't know we believe or think come roaring to the surface. And usually it's when there's a break in our life or a
Yeah.
trauma, and then all these things we've kept pushed down come roaring to life. And for good or bad, I like to do that to my characters so that they reveal who they really are deep down, not who they think they are. Um,
right,
so
absolutely. That was
she
such a
left Winnie
powerful.
standing by the car. She put her own life in danger. But it was also the moment when she said, like, enough, enough.
Yeah. It
So
was
Absolutely.
powerful.
I'm
I
curious
cried a little bit when I wrote that. So
oh my
Really?
gosh, I cried a little bit when I read it.
yeah.
Oh, but I'm
I always
curious
wonder
what book
that.
club members think. Other moments they felt were really powerful in the book, if you don't mind putting those in the comments. Um, right now, though, we are going to bring in a book club member to ask a quick question,
Oh, so
do a
fun.
little pop in.
Oh, Debbie, what's going on? Debbie
I
came
know
to
you
see me
guys
in
got to
California.
meet recently.
We got to see, hi, love. We got to see each other in California.
Right when we
Yay!
came back from Nashville, we could have seen each other in Nashville.
I know, no kidding. But it was more fun in California because you got to meet my editor. You got to say hi to
I
Kristen
was
Hanna. You got to meet Julia. It was great.
it was amazing. Let me get rid of my Facebook one. Hang on, I got to get rid of that other one. There we go. That's better. Now I don't have back sound. Better?
Yeah, it was fine
We weren't
before.
hearing it.
Yeah, we
Oh,
didn't hear it.
one ear or the other
Probably
ear.
you heard it.
Hi, love.
So
So
good
what's
to
your
see you.
question?
So I'm going to word it correctly from it. So it came even out of that night where we had a very too short of a discussion, but
Yeah,
there
we
was
tried
I would
though.
love, I know, I would love for you to expand on the difference as you see it. Maybe like this would be really even fun for your creative writing students. I'm wondering, might be a good discussion. Then you come back and tell us what they say on
Okay.
the difference between an imaginary friend and an invisible friend. And maybe we could poll the readers too and see how they feel about. I don't know. It's just a topic that really it really sticks with me because it really made the story so unique in that.
Yep.
And when he sticks to no image, is imagine she's not invisible,
Yep.
and she speaks with that with absolute conviction and impact to the story in a way that was very unique and moving and stirring. And I think I
Thank
even
you,
shared with you
Debbie.
that story that like both my parents who were only children met each other and got together because they both had
Imaginary
imaginary
friend.
friends.
Her parents
Oh, that's
met
great.
because of that. Isn't that adorable? I've told so many people that story. So for those of you, well, we're doing spoilers, so you probably read it, but
Yep.
Winnie has an imaginary friend from her
Mhm.
grandmother's book, and the imaginary friend's name is MG. And when I do my live talks, I always say, who's had an imaginary friend? And I make people raise their hands. And did you? Did you, Lisa?
I did. My imaginary friend when I was a child, her name was Amy.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So a lot of people come up to me after or even write me later and say, I forgot that I had And like they put it childish things out of their mind, right? And so they used to scare adults and say, maybe your kid has schizophrenia or isn't living in the real world, but now they know that children with imaginary friends are very, very creative and very bright and often use their imaginary friends to filter the world. They're usually big feelers like Winnie is, like they feel everything and they can blame it on their friend, or they notice things that other people don't notice and they can, say it's their friend. And I use that for Winnie because Winnie is seeing things that help solve the mystery, but that her imaginary friend is telling her. But it's really things that she's noticing, or maybe not. I want you to wonder. So to Winnie, she is not imaginary, and she gets a little miffed when people say that because she just says she's invisible. And Claire is always trying to explain to people that Winnie made this imaginary friend out of her grandmother's book, or Clara's mother's book, her children's fantasy novel called The Middle Place. And Winnie gets very upset and says, "No, I knew MG before you even read me the book." So I want us to wonder too if that's true, or if that's just a child's imagination and run amok. And I love, and I've done it. I need to go back and look, probably in all of my books in one way or another, where um, what's really real, could that have happened? I don't know. Did she go to Whisperwood? Like, I don't want it to be black and white and cut and clear. I want you to question what you believe. I want to question what I believe. Um, I want to question how we see the world and the unseen versus the seen. So this time it was through an imaginary friend. So thanks, Debbie. I love talking about
Thank
that.
you.
I think it's
I
amazing
know.
both of your parents had them. Amazing.
Mhm.
That is a great
Yep.
story.
And a great
And it
Thank you
really
question.
so
is
I
much,
love that
lovely.
Debbie.
Yeah.
question.
What a great
Well, thank
question.
you. And thank you for having me on. It was such a pleasure.
Thanks for wearing your shirt.
Let me
I know,
see.
right?
Oh, but stand up. I can't see. Oh, there you go.
Do you
I
see
love
my
the
do you see my
color.
Patty display? Do you see from the very by win?
I was gonna mention it, but then
Oh,
I thought that sounded a little like self-serving.
No, it's like it's on my lovely this is how it displays.
Oh,
Oh,
I
that's
love
so
that you
awesome.
cute.
have the
My
paint.
favorite.
It's in my office too, that painting.
Well, good. I'll
Take
think of
care,
it.
Debbie.
Bye,
Thank you
Deb.
Bye-bye.
See
so
you later,
much. Bye.
sweetie.
Going back online. Bye.
Thanks for sharing and thanks for joining us.
She's the
Oh, I love her.
I do too. And that was a perfect setup because I did want to talk about Winnie too. Kind of in a different way, although I do think, I think Winnie did know MG before.
I
I'm
do
going to go on
too.
out there and
Yeah.
say it.
Yep.
Um, in
Yep.
the world that you have created, she knew MG
Yep.
she anything else. And I'm just find Winnie fascinating because she's smart and sweet and appealing, but she's also this kind of bridge to, and I'm going to find a question in here somewhere, but she's also this bridge between her mom and her grandmother
Yep.
because it's circular, because Clara is the mother of Winnie, who doesn't have all of the baggage necessarily that Clara has. And so talk to us a little bit about Winnie and how you came to have her be that bridge.
So, sometimes I can answer how and why, and other times it just literally grew out of the
Just happened.
story. So I knew that there would be a daughter of a daughter of a daughter, which is very important at the end. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew that when Bronwyn left Clara, that she created, this mother hunger in her. And I knew that Clara would have her own child and think she was going to do better than her mother. But it wasn't until I started writing about them that I realized that Clara was born in, I mean, Winnie was born in trauma, that Clara couldn't have any more children after that, that Winnie was born early, so she had fragile lungs and wore little Coke bottle glasses. And so she just kind of grew into her own as I started to write about who she was, how creative and imaginary she was, and how Clara fought hard inside herself not to squelch that, but also like, oh, enough about my mom already, you know? So, and also Winnie's dealing with a dad who has an addiction and so is living somewhere else. And um, things aren't easy for Winnie. And so her imaginary, and at school, she's not bullied, but, she's kind of an odd little bird with her
Mhm.
glasses and so her imaginary friend and her mother are kind of her world. And I wanted her to have exponential growth by the end, which she does. So,
And I have to
Yes.
say, more than anything, I love Charlie for being for loving Winnie
isn't
because
that
he
so
was
Yeah.
sweet?
he was taken from the beginning. So I was like, I was sold right from the beginning.
They would have to be a horrible person if they weren't taken with Winnie right away, right?
I
Right.
know, right?
She's so cute. And I love that it's the name Winnie
Yeah,
because
that's
my,
my
my
dog.
dog, your dog's Winnie and my dog's Winnie.
That's
My dog's
right.
Winston.
That could be Winnie too.
Yeah, so he's Winnie too.
Oh,
That's
we have
funny.
three Winnies. So my Winnie is actually Winchester because she's a hunting dog.
My Winnie is
Oh,
actually Winter,
Oh,
so
see?
there's three different names.
Three
but
Winston.
we
different
call
names,
her
but all
Winnie.
Winnies. Yep.
That's great.
That's so funny.
So
I do
so I did
have,
have another question from. Oh, go ahead, Lisa.
I just have a couple of comments from the chat circling back to the
I love the
scenes.
comments because I can't see them. So,
Yeah.
That's
So
okay.
there's a lot of people that they loved the question about the invisible friend. Diane says, I have always heard of your imaginary friend, but I've never heard of anyone saying they had an invisible friend. So Mitzi said, one of the many scenes that really pulled on her heartstrings was your description of Winnie's premature birth. I think I was there.
oh, thank you. Thank
And
you. That's
then
when my nurse training comes in. I can do those things pretty vivid.
that was a very powerful scene as well. And then of course, the scene that we already discussed with the water, Lisette said, that scene made me sick to my stomach thinking so much had been lost.
Yep.
And Debbie said she literally gasped for breath at that time.
Yep. So did I. Thank you.
And
I'm glad
Michelle
I
said
portrayed it.
she had a book hangover from your characters.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love book hangovers. They're a lot better
I
than
do too.
one.
Yep. And there's several people who've mentioned they would love to see this made into a movie.
Me too, love. Me too. Could you call someone for me? Just give a
Yeah.
little ringy ding. I don't know who to call. But yeah, I mean, we try. I mean, it's so if you look at what's being made, it's not a lot of historical dual timeline type thing, but you never know. The pendulum
Mhm.
swings and swings back again and swings back again. So stories have their own timing.
Yeah. And one last comment that I think is very interesting. Dorothy says, I would love for you to write a young reader version of the story she left behind so students could gather the wisdom of the adults in Winnie's life.
Oh,
Oh,
wow. I thought she was going to say young reader's version of Whisperwood. I get that a lot.
Um,
yeah.
Oh, wow. That's a great idea. I'm going to have to mull that over. That's amazing.
yeah. So those are just
Oh.
a few of the comments. I
Thank you
think
for
you had a question, Brenda.
Well, I was just going to shift gears a little bit because I think one of the really important things about this book, of course, aside from some of the things you've already mentioned, like the language and such, is the setting. And I did want to mention one of the questions from a book club member, Susan, says, I did get to visit the Lake District in England in 1994. It's a beautiful area.
It is.
Um,
It's
my
gorgeous.
parents rented a car. Everything is the opposite of what we're used to. And it was stick shift. England is a country that has a lot of roundabouts. But
Yes.
I say that to introduce the question. The setting was just amazing in this book because you have kind of the magical, mystical Bluffton area, and then you've also got this sort of corresponding foreign land in England, and it's all beautiful. And um, I know that you went to the area. Would you mind talking a little bit about how, what you saw and how it influenced the book?
Absolutely. So I always say, when you talk to authors or take a class, it's always said that the setting should be as important as the character, right? But I want to take that a step farther and say that I want my setting to be so important that if I pulled the story out of that setting, it wouldn't be that story. And for me, that's Bluffton, the Great Smog of 1952, because I don't just take you to the Great Smog because it's interesting. I take you to the Great Smog because it puts Winnie in danger.
Right.
And then there's the Lake District, and everywhere that you go in the Lake District, I went first. So the bedroom that Winnie and Clara stay in, the bed they sleep in, the view out their window, the hike they take, Beatrix Potter's house, the pub, because I suffer for my art for you. I went to the pub. I'm kidding. But everywhere you read about, I visited in the book. And I think that's really important for me, not only because I want the reader to feel it, but because if I'm going to use a real place, I just don't want to get it wrong. I just don't want to get it wrong. And I want to know what it feels like, smells like. I went when it was dormant. I went in February, March of last year. And so it wasn't December when the book is set, but it still was cold and dormant and nothing was in bloom yet. So I really got the feel for what Clara and Winnie would be doing, wandering around that village. And I actually wish I could have seen it at Christmas because that was a fun scene to write. But yeah, everywhere that you go in the book, I went and I felt that the Lake District, the reason I went there and the reason I set it there is number one, I think it's a really mystical place. And if you've read the book, she was illustrating it and didn't know she was illustrating it.
Mm.
In fact, one of the first titles was The Forgotten Lake because she didn't realize that she was illustrating the place she ended up. And the other reason, of course, is because, and I don't think I mentioned this yet, but the reason I found Barbara Newhall Follett is because I was doing research on Beatrix Potter. I thought I might write a book about her. And I discovered that Beatrix Potter, when she was a child, a young woman, made up a coded language so her mother couldn't read her journal. And that sent me down a research trail of women authors who made up languages. And that's how I found Barbara. So I wanted to honor Beatrix by setting the book there and talking about her. So you go to her house, you hike to her favorite lake, you meet the people who knew her, and it kind of draws different people together. And I just loved the Lake District. And so there were numerous reasons I said it there, but the visit is what really nailed it.
Well, and I have to say to the moment from the other really strong moment, well, there's so many, but okay. A really strong moment for me too was when Winnie sees the painting in the manor and
Yeah.
realizes it's their home in Bluffton, and we come kind of full circle. And
Yep.
Yeah. That
And
was
that's
actually an
it was
advanced
showing
just
too
question
amazing.
that
too.
there's Winnie paying attention, right?
Mhm.
Like
Yes, yes,
Clara thinks she is, but like, oh, there's so much going on and she's got to get home and her passport is missing and they got to get the train tickets and oh my God, what's going on with Charlie? And like the language has been
yes.
completely deteriorated and she doesn't have it left and she has to tell her father where she is. So her mind is on 1,000 things, but it's Winnie who says, Mom, the painting, so.
Mhm. We had an advanced question about that, so that was perfect. That was perfect segue for that. We have another interesting question from the chat. Jennifer would like to know, when you came up with Bronwyn's language, did you think of how the words sounded first or how they were spelled?
Sounded. What an interesting question.
I know, I thought that was great. Thanks, Jennifer.
Yeah, so I kind of mashed up together Gaelic and Latin and Bronwyn's language. I mean, Barbara's real language, and kind of like squished them all together.
Very cool. Very, very cool.
It was fun. I can't imagine making up a whole language. I have zero desire to do that, but
I
making up
can't
a few words
either.
was fun. Yeah. And they were
That's so
mostly
cool.
inspired by words that Barbara had made up, words about nature and feelings. And so I took her language and took a couple of the definitions and then wiggled them around and made up some new words to fit the story. But they were all inspired by her language.
So good.
I know that made it just so much all the more powerful, really, in
It was
some of the
fun.
scenes.
It was fun. Yeah.
Well,
And,
I
when
know
we talk about what
have,
it's really about, I mean, part of it's really about the power of language and how sometimes the language we have isn't enough to describe how we feel and what we think. And I think that's why Barbara made a language up. I think that the world was overwhelming to her and the language we had wasn't enough. Um, I just wrote an article for Reader's Digest about it. It's on my website if you want to go find it. But this impetus for some people to try and find words for things they don't feel, that they feel too much and don't have the words for.
Very cool. Did you have another question, Brenda? Did you want me to go next?
go ahead, Lisa.
Okay. So Stephanie would like to know, in the audiobook, why were the William chapters and associated voices narrated by someone else? And she loved that, but wondered why that choice.
William. Charlie?
It says William. She must mean Charlie.
So, Bronwyn does, Julia does all the female parts and Theo does all the male parts. And so that choice was made because I wanted it to feel, or they wanted it to feel like, in many ways, like a production. So,
I think
to
she did mean
to
Charlie.
have Julia, which she can do, the male voices, I think it's more interesting since Charlie has his own chapters, to dive straight into his voice, which I was doing when I was writing. Sometimes I'll write 3 or 4 of those chapters at a time, but they are divided up. But once I'm in his voice, I kind of stay in there for a little while. So I want the narrator to do the same.
It was great. The audio was really good.
It's beautiful. I'm so impressed. I haven't listened to the whole thing. It's hard to listen to your own book. I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks and like thinking about listening to my own after talking about it all day was a little too much for me.
Well, one thing that we definitely want to ask you before we start wrapping up, I want to make sure we get this in because our readers are very big on it.
Okay.
Where can readers get a signed copy of The Story She Left Behind?
All
Or
right.
any other titles?
Absolutely. So if you go to my website, pattycallahanhenry.com, Patty with an I, Henry with a Y. There is under, if you click on any of my titles, it'll say signed first editions and it'll have all the places you can get them. For The Story She Left Behind,
Awesome.
there are still some Oxford Exchange boxes left. And as you know, or subscriptions left. And so those are the ones where you get my book, Kristen's book, and Christy's book, because we all have a new book this year. And you also get a little Friends and Fiction gift with it. but Alabama Booksmith always carries all my signed first editions. So you can either just put in Alabama Booksmith and my name, or go to my website and see the places that have signed first editions right now. You could get them through the Brenda Novak box, but that's gone. So probably right now what's left is Oxford Exchange and Alabama Booksmith.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We could have part two.
Oh my gosh,
I
we could talk
know.
for hours on end. Okay,
It's
let me
gone
say
by
this.
so fast.
So let me say this to everybody out there. I am so happy that you came tonight, and I'm so happy that you've read my book. And I love this book club, and I feel like we are the luckiest people in the world that we have all been brought together by the love of reading and story and books. And I know Lisa and Brenda have a really big announcement to make, so I'm going to tap out and let them do it. But thank you for being with us since the beginning. Thank you for talking about books with us. Thank you for showing up at events when you can. And Lisa and Brenda, thank you so much for having me tonight and reading my work. And thank you.
We wouldn't have it
Oh.
any other way. We are so excited. We miss seeing you. You have to come back for happy hour sometime.
Oh my gosh, you just have to tell me. I think the last two times you've asked me, I've been out of like on the road. But yes, I love happy hour. I love seeing what Ron's making next. By the way, for those of you who don't know, Ron made a killer cocktail for my book. So
Yes.
put that in my newsletter. Thanks for reminding me of that. I'm gonna put it in my newsletter.
Yes.
I have a newsletter
Yes.
coming out. So you guys sign up for my Substack. I have another newsletter coming out. All right, you guys
Yay.
are awesome. I know you got everybody out there. Do not move. There is a super big announcement coming. Love you
Well, thank
guys.
you, Patty. That was very good segue.
Well, I
But
don't want them to leave
love the
because I'm
book.
leaving because there's a big
Yay.
thing. There's a big
Awesome
thing. Trust me. It's a
talking
big
with you
thing.
tonight about it.
All right. Love you guys.
Amazing.
Bye.
Take
Love
care. Bye
you.
bye.
Bye. Yay.
Wow, she really set us up for this announcement, didn't she?
I know. I feel like we should make people wait a little bit longer, but now, no, I'm
I
just kidding.
agree. Oh, well, I agree.
It's so, I always love when we can have one of the Fab Four on because it's like family. It's like, it's like from
It's
our
like
roots.
being at home.
So it's very fitting that, and well, I'll get into it when we make the announcement, but I did find out a little tidbit and I kind of wanted to ask her. So I won't say to quote me on it when we get there, but well, we might as well just go ahead and do it now. What do you think?
Yeah, might as well.
Might as well. So we have our 5-year anniversary weekend coming up, August 8th through the 10th in Atlanta. But our main party, the main anniversary party, is going to be on Saturday, August 9th. And it's going to be, and this is the fun tidbit before I announce the name of the place. I found out after we've already had it booked through a friend of mine who has a book club here in Atlanta, who was at um, one of Patty's first talks. And I believe it was at this very same location, which is the Margaret Mitchell House. We are thrilled to have it there. We are going to have a party. It will be a super fun evening. We have special guests, plural, and we will be making guest announcements leading up to when tickets go on sale to keep you guys engaged. So we're not going to share that yet, but we have some fabulous guests that our members will be excited to see. And it will be Saturday, August 9th, Margaret Mitchell House, 6:30 p.m. And we are over the moon thrilled.
It is
What
such a
what what do you
fantastic
say?
venue. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Yeah, it's a fantastic venue. The event space they have behind it is amazing. And we just can't wait to get our plans firmed up and to start giving you information so that we can all be together in Atlanta.
It's going to be so fun. And part of the evening, we have we'll have like a presentation stage thing with some of our special guests. But part of the evening that's really cool is if you come to the event, you get to tour the Margaret Mitchell house as part of the night. And it's really cool. I can't think of a better bookish place to celebrate our 5 years. So,
Absolutely. And see, I thought we were withholding that piece of information. So you heard it
oh,
here. Lisa
well,
gone rogue
I
again.
spilled the beans. I just know we're not telling any guests. That's the secret
No, no,
we're
I'm
keeping
just
is who's going
teasing.
to be there.
But
It's going to be
yes,
fun.
watch out on the page for more information. We toured the house. It was fabulous, and I can't wait to share it with you guys.
It'll be a fun
So let's
time.
get on to a few dates for our calendars. Our next book discussion will be May 19th with The Page Turn with Viola Shipman. And I'm
Yay.
supposed to share the graphic.
I thought I had it sitting
Okay.
right here.
Okay. I'm with it now. That'll be May 19th.
Yay.
And we're really excited about that too. Wade has also been on a whirlwind tour, somewhat like Patti, and looking forward to sitting down with him and talking spoilers on the page turner. Next, after that, will be May 22nd happy hour with Ron Block and a surprise special guest. And then
Yay.
June 23rd, we have another Friends in Fiction founder when we talk about beach house rules with Christy Woodson Harvey. Really looking forward to that one as well.
Yay. I can't wait.
I know, me neither. Just some really good stuff coming up.
It's going to be fun.
All
So,
right. Okay, the reading challenge. I guess I should also mention, Lisa. Our
yeah.
prompt this month is a novel with a question in the title, and I'm reading Remember Me. Which one were you reading, Lisa?
Who
Or
better
Remember
than
Me
you?
question mark?
Mine is Who Better Than You by Will Packer. So good. The audio is fantastic. It has like 10 narrators and half of them
Awesome.
are celebrities and it's so good.
And then next month for May, our reading challenge is a novel with water on the cover. And some of you have noticed that the story she left behind has water on the cover. So if you haven't read it yet, you can use that for your May reading challenge.
Can you stop sharing your screen so we could see you? I
Oh,
couldn't
I'm
see
still sharing.
it.
My
Yeah,
apologies.
that's okay.
There we go.
Now you can hold it up.
Oh, now I can hold it up as shimmer.
The shimmer on the cover, that's one of my favorite. Like,
It's
this is one of my
amazing.
favorite covers. It's so
And
good.
and it's wintertime and the lake is frozen, and I can just imagine, that this is
Yeah.
how it looks in the sunshine.
Beautiful. Beautiful cover. So that's exciting. We've got, like you said, a lot coming up and the reading challenge. I'm not sure what I'm going to read for May yet, but I did want to mention that our book club member, Heather Sparks, did a post. She's been doing it every month, and it's pinned to our featured tab where you can post what you're reading and people post suggestions. And also, Anissa did a great post, I think it was yesterday, with 10 suggestions of books with um, water on the cover, which is also pinned to the featured tab. So if you're looking for suggestions, you can look on the featured tab and see some suggestions from book club members. So I still need to figure out mine, but I will at some point. It'll happen.
I
Do
need
you
to
know what
figure
you're
mine
reading
out
for
too.
May yet?
I do not.
No. So I will say the
So,
chat is exploding with
ooh,
excitement for the Margaret Mitchell house. So hopefully you guys, Heather said, come to hot Atlanta, enjoy the fun. Lana
I
says
will say,
perfect venue. Edie says we need all the details spilled. Well, I see. I already got in trouble for spilling one detail, so my lips are zipped with the guests. But I will tell you, we are going to have guests, plural, and we will have different
and we're going to
things.
have
on different
Guests
days.
with Lisa
And
shaking her head.
guests, it may not be 2, it may not be 3, it may not be 4, it may not be
It may
10.
not be 5.
It's gonna be amazing. So plan to come now. Take off that PTO. Come on down. We're gonna celebrate. So anyways, that was my pitch. Not a good
And
salesperson.
it was a good one too. I was just going to say, having been in the Margaret Mitchell house, you walk in and you actually, the left sort of portion of the museum is the actual little apartment that she
Mhm.
lived in and where she sat right under the radiator and wrote Gone with the Wind. So it was pretty
Yep.
cool.
You can see her actual desk. It's very cool.
Yes. And that will
Um,
all be included. That
oh, Mitzi, thank you. Mitzi said, Lisa and Brenda, thank you so much for all you do. You're the best. Well, you guys are the best. And we love you guys. We
absolutely.
couldn't do it without you guys. Um, Michelle pointed out that Beach House Rules also has water on the cover. So that's a good thing by Christie's book.
Hmm.
I'm not sure. I think it comes out in at the end of May. So it might be out towards the end. I don't have her pub date
You
right
know
in front
what
of me. And my brain does
just
not work
occurred to
very
me?
well.
I'm not sure it does, but Mary Alice's new book may have water on the cover where the
I
rivers
mean, we've
merge.
got some like Surviving Savannah has water on the cover.
Oh,
A
and it's
couple Fab
fabulous
Four.
if you have not read it.
There's a couple Mary Kay Andrews books that have water on the cover. Sunset Beach, I think, has water on the cover. So there's a
Okay, the
couple.
newcomer. Hello,
Oh yeah, the
Summer.
newcomer kind of has water on the cover, yeah. So there's a lot of choices. So lots of ways
Yes,
we could go.
absolutely.
So I think that's all the chatting and fun. I mean, we could sit here and talk to you guys all night,
I know,
especially
especially
about
about
the
the story she
party.
left behind. I mean,
Oh,
I
that
don't,
too.
I just felt like it was just masterful in the way that everything just
Hmm.
interwoven is not a strong enough word. It's almost like
Yeah.
it collided,
Yeah.
you know. So my nerdy self
She,
could talk about that all night long.
I feel like, I mean, that's Patty Callahan Henry. Like her
Mhm.
writing is masterful every time. Like she doesn't miss, like ever. So you
Yeah.
know when her book comes out, you know the research is going to be on point. You know the characters, the plot, the timelines, all of it is just she doesn't miss. And you
And
think
that
when you think it doesn't get better, like you think she can't top something, she comes out and blows you away just as much as she did in the last one. Like I never
I
thought
know.
I would get over Surviving Savannah. Like I just never thought
Real
I was like,
right?
this is it. She's written her best book out. Like, like I shouldn't, I don't mean it like no kind of bad way, but it's just like, this is fantastic. And then she
Yeah.
hit us
This
with,
is drop the mic and
right. And then she comes with Flora Lee. And then she comes with a story she left behind. And I do want to mention for audiobook readers, if you haven't listened to Wild Swan, it is fantastic. I know some people aren't as fan of audio. That's the only option. And Cynthia Erivo's voice is just fantastic. So if you haven't checked that out on Audible, definitely do. It's a short story, so it's not long. It's a not long listen. It's really good. So
that's definitely one I want to download, even though I'm not big into audiobooks myself. I just have a lot of trouble, you know, with mostly I try to do it when I'm driving, and that's probably not the best thing for me to do. Um, but anyway,
well, thank you guys for joining us and sticking with us. We will see you soon and look out for announcements and things on the page over the next couple of weeks. We'll have some info and we love you guys.
yep, we certainly do. Have a great night and happy reading.
PB&J out.